All right, a good day to all. This is Sam here. We are Thursday, December 14th. It's mid-morning. Had a couple of members that are interested in having a look at NEO to Bitcoin. This is actually a trade that was just posted live in the room, I don't know, maybe an hour ago. And very straightforward. There's nothing really complicated here. I'll explain to you why we are long in the market here. So as you can see, we've got what appears to be an attempt to start a new trend, or at least to get a five-wave sequence started. So this, we've been, so to give you a little context here, so let me back out. Let's go to an 8-hour, right, and take a look at this. So like so many alts, just long downtrend here. And it looks like we may have a bottom down here, I mean, you've got a clear ABC here into a B, and it looks like we're trying to put in a low down here for NEO to Bitcoin. And of course, this is the the big pump in Bitcoin. So anything spread against it really suffered there. I mean, you can see if I pull, just doing algo pulls, just to give it a little context as to where we've been. There's the first one. All right, so there's right to the 50, right? So you see that they front run it by a few ticks, and then it looks like this coming up shy on their long-term target, but we'd want to check here as well, since that's the first pull. I'd look here as well. Here's the 50. So this whole zone down here, if I blow this up, very close, and it could just be some front running there. So it doesn't surprise me here that we're starting to see some action here. Now, can we get a completed impulsive structure to imply to us that we have a start of a new trend? Well, that remains to be seen. It's been very technical, and we're at a point where it's not unreasonable to anticipate that we'd have some movement here. So let me pull some of this off just now that we've got some context as to where we've been and where we could be going. So I'm going to go back down to the 1 hour and open this up. So you can see here, so this was the first signs of it, and so we get our classic corner pocket here. So we get two pivots, so we get a higher low, right? So potentially we've got a 1-2 playing there. So if I just measure that up just to check it, you can see we go to the 786. We know a 2 can go that deep. It's a fight for a new low. They don't get it, and then we get the rip away from it. So that's what sets up the potential for the 1-2. And let me pull some of this off so it's a little easier for you to see what I'm doing here. So from the 1-2, we would be measuring. Let's see here. So since we're taking an Elliott approach to it, with an anticipation that we'd move to the highest probability zone. So let me pull this so you can see it. So I marked this off, and you can see right where we go. And the reason that's marked off is because if this is a 1-2, we know that statistically the highest probability for a third, the highest probability range, is in this box here. So I've moved the alternate price projections off to the left here so we can combine the algo pulls and the straight fib pulls. And you can see the price projections. I picked this up from one of my members, just I think a little bit easier for me to show you guys. So you can see all I've done here is just draw this box. So here's the box, right, moved over. So highest probability statistically for a third wave between the 1618 and the 1618 and the 175. Where do we go? Right into the box. Damn near split the box in the middle. Okay, so what does that tell you? Well, okay, good probability. I've got a 1, 2, 3 in play, and now I'm looking for my fourth. Well, if it's going to stay impulsive, I want to wick off my one wave on the assumption that if I'm going to stay impulsive, I'm not going to invalidate by overlapping the high here. Now, because it's a one wave, that wouldn't invalidate the bullish bias here, because we could have a diagonal, which again, the reason you get diagonals in one waves, A waves, or ending diagonals in fifth waves or C waves is because it's a fight to establish a trend or end a trend. That's why often you'll get overlap in the fourth, as this is fighting to establish a new trend. So bulls are trying to keep it above the 1, so this is a reasonable place to be entering. So why enter here? Well, the highest probability zone for a fourth is between the 38 and the 50, so we put an entry here anticipating that we might get movement into that box. So stops underneath the wave 1 high. That's a reason. So we'd be under the 50 and underneath the wave 1 high. So reasonable. So we get good risk reward is really what that's about. So we get good risk reward, and then adding, of course, with that kind of a setup, you know that that's going to require a pitchfork to look for some market geometry. So if I take it from my low here to my high, project down to my 2 low, well, here's the classic corner pocket, right? I've shown this hundreds of times. So from this low here, assuming we have 3 good pivots, 80% probability of making the median line, which we do. We get to it and we stall a little bit, but we go up and challenge up to the upper parallel, and we get right into that pocket, as I just showed you, for that high probability zone for the 3rd wave. Well, here's my high probability zone for my 4th. So right now, this is just playing technical ball. NEO's trading very technically. So this gives us reasonable assumption that we have a 4th there. So good place to be long. So we've got, nice risk reward. If we're going to go up for a 5th, we'd look for some of those statistical relationships for a 5th. So if I take the length of my 1, project it from what is currently now labeled as the 4th, well, I get a couple of spots that I'd want to pay attention to. So 100% to 1272. That's a contender. But then also up here, if it's going to get extreme, or potentially we end up relabeling this, so if I pull it over to the side, so I get a couple of spots there. And then from an algo pull, even though we don't make the 50, perhaps we're getting a little front run, and we don't know. We may come back down and challenge the 50. That remains to be seen. So here's my first algo target at negative 23.6. Here's the extreme. So I'd widen this box up here. So there's the negative 618 as an algo target, and that lines up rather nicely with the market geometry with the upper parallel here. So right now, that's just a fresh trade that we're in with nice risk reward. So there's 7.5 to 1. A reasonable position. So a lot of times what I'll advise members to do is take a small bite here. So if you take what you were going to allocate to the trade, if you're going to buy in off the 38, you might keep some in reserve to add if we get a little bit deeper and we come to test the 50, because if you're entering at the 50 or a front run on the 50, and we don't know that we'll get back down there, but you can put your stop pretty close there. So that's a reasonable place to add, which would average your price down a bit. But your stop, no reason to take the drawdown and take the stop down here. If you're going to take the stop there, it's going to be small, so it's not going to hurt you too badly. And then you reevaluate. Are we going to a diagonal? If this is going to come down here, well, then we're in a diagonal. What kind of price action do we see here? Do we get a 3-wave subdivision? So you're on the hourly. You can make the case that we've already had it, but we might. That's certainly possible. So depending on how bullish you want to be in NEO, this wouldn't surprise me. So, right now we're in. It's a relatively low risk trade. There's 8 to 1 right there. If this pivot holds, we don't know that it will. So, understanding that this could very easily retrace down here, challenge the 618, turn into a diagonal, which we can anticipate as a potential scenario for a 1 wave as this fights to establish a new trend. So I always tell people, you want to keep it alternate so that you're not surprised. So that if we take out the 50, we can look at it and say, okay, well, if we're breaking the wave 1 low, what could it be? Could we still have an impulsive structure, a 5-wave structure, I should say? A 5-wave structure, and if we hold the 618, that's another place to consider entering here, because if you're entering down here, there's no need to go too much deeper than that. So then you get better upside. I would keep it, I would maybe just a little wiggle room on the other side of the 65. So if you took a stop here and you're looking to re-enter here, well, now you've got almost 13 to 1 there. So it's just, trader's choice as to how aggressive you want to be, how bullish you are in NEO, how well diversified you are across the board. Is this a place where you want to put, a large chunk of money? NEO is a, major crypto. If we look over here to CoinGecko, where I often suggest you get a read on it, it's got a score of 70. I mean, a market cap of 3 billion. This is a major cryptocurrency, and it's only Genesis date was the 2016. So this is major player. So, just a good coin to be considering. Now I got to find it. Yeah, there it is. So reasonable here, and then keep the context in mind, right? We've come. There's a lot of upside. If we're just putting in a 1 here, this is a great place to be getting long. The one other thing I thought that is always important to be mindful of is that we're dealing with the resistance on the way back up. So you can see here was the 61865 coming back up. So this break to get through it was a good bullish signal. So and we check this one as well. Well, there's the 50. So when you're looking at it and you're wondering why we're stopping there, you always want to go back and check those pivots. Look left to the market and say, well, could this be resistance from a prior significant pivot? And that's very reasonable. So potentially you have algos that were front running on the 50, looking to take this much lower. So it remains to be seen who wins the battle, because here's that algo target. If there's a sell off of this 50, then that target is down here at this negative 23.6. Right? So the whole count would change. We'd invalidate it. This would be a failure to start a new trend. If that's going to go down there, then we reevaluate at that point. But now we're getting awfully low there. So this is a reasonable place to be getting long. I'm long. I've got members long in the room. I would be comfortable, taking a couple of swings at it here, because I like the coin, I like the project, and I think there's great potential here for even moves up just to revisit some of these old pivots. So I also thought I would show it to you to the dollar, as I had a few members that like to trade it to the dollar. Also equally technical here, right? So we've got. So here I'm on a 4-hour here. So a different structure, different count. Here's the big 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get that deep correction, and we're starting what looks like maybe a new impulsive structure here. So if I just check the technicals on it, is it trading technically? Well, here's the 1, 2. We go through the 618, but we know a 2 can go as deep as the 786. So this does not invalidate anything. I mean, that's a choppy, kind of ugly a second wave. It's unusually complex for a second wave, but still valid. And then from there so here's the corner pocket yet again, right? Whether you took it there or you waited for the little pullback, there it is. So 80% probability, 80%. As I often tell people, that's nowhere else in the market do you get those odds. 80% that we make the median line from those pivots, and bang, there we get. So in addition to that, you've got the algo target of negative 23.6 coming in right in line at the median line. So that's just a juicy target looking right there. And then, of course, look at the reaction after that. So algos take profit. We tap the median line. So can we get back up and challenge it? Well, this is a good example here to show you this. So now take note of what happens here. So of course, whenever you've got the potential for an impulsive structure, now keep in mind I'm on the 4-hour here, we're going to wick off the wave 1 high. So just as I was showing you potentially in the Bitcoin trade, if this is going to take out the wave 1 high, well, then what do we have? We have a diagonal structure. So it's still a 5-wave structure. As you can see, clearly we've got a 5-wave structure. But we have a diagonal, which would imply that either it's a 1 wave or a 5th wave. That's the only place we can find that. Well, pardon me, an ending or leading diagonal in this case. 1 wave could be an end diagonal in a 5th wave, because this could be 3, 4. We're going up for the 5. No way to know right now. No way to know that for sure. Excuse me a sec. Let me get rid of that. So if I look here now, pulling. So here's the point I wanted to make. In a diagonal, we pull from the start of the wave 1 to the 3 high. We did for the 1, 2, we use the length of the 1. For a diagonal, after we overlap the 1, then we look at the fib relationship between the start of the 1 to the high of the 3. That's the pull for the diagonal. So we get this triple bottom down here, wicking off the 50. Look how many times they tap it. And then we get the rip higher. So from there, we don't. It's not the same corner pocket type of trade. But here's our algo entry. Here's the algo target up here, right? And that it could be that it's been front run, but my guess would be there's more upside. Looking for potential targets beyond the negative 23. If I take my alternate tool, I'm going to project the length of the start of the 5 wave from the low of the 4. I'm going to pull it from the 3 high, and you can see I get a box up here. So a likely target would be 100% of the length of the start of this to the 3 high projected from the 4 low. It's a common target for a diagonal would be 100% of that entire move. And then we've got the geometry here. So from here, here's the first target, but if we hit it here, we're not making the median line. So that would be a point of caution, because the expectation is that we make the median line. So there's a better target. If this starts to fail here, we set up the potential for Andrew's median line trading principle number 4. Failure to revisit the median line sets up the potential for a move equal to or in excess of the move that took it up, but yet failed to make the median line. So you've got a couple of scenarios here. This pull here wants to get to that negative 23, but we want to see it get there in conjunction with a tap of the median line. So perhaps it just wicks through it, taps it. Perhaps we catch it up here. You know, if we look at this, if I go down to the 1 hour, let me get down there and see what kind of subdivision we get. So let me open this up, and we'll move some of this off here to make the point. So it's getting a little hard to read. So this if I look at this here now, so I can see a 5-wave structure. So if I look at this, so if this is my 4 low, that you would be tempting to do this right here. So I've got overlap into the 5th. So that's possible here. So what would I have here? I'd have an ending diagonal, because I've overlapped the 1 here, where ending diagonal, commonly found, can only be found, pardon me, a better way to say that, can only be found in a C wave or a 5th wave. So just as we did before with the potential, so we'd have a diagonal completing a diagonal. So just as we did before, we'd take the length, the start of it, from the low here to the 3 high, projected from the 4 low. There's the 618. We'd be looking for the 100%. So this is interesting. So here's the 100% of that pull right here at the median line. So potentially we've got one more push up. Let me check one thing here. So do we get the 3rd wave projected from there? Yeah, we just make it. So there's 100% the length of the 1 wave. So the 3rd validates there. So we have a 1, 2, 3 overlap of the 1 creates the diagonal. So potentially now we finish here. So this could be, we might be relabeling. This could be the 3. This could be the 3. And we end up with the 4 over here. Now take note, if we get that, then we have not overlapped the 1. Do you see that? So if this is the 4, which could be, given this price action here, then we stay impulsive. Then there's our 5 target, and we've got our hot box up here. So we've got our algo. So really, you would just open this up. So give yourself a target up here. And then, of course, the median line comes into play. So if you open that up, if this is 1, 2, 3, there's the 4. Let's check that. I know I'm running long here, but let's check this 2 to that 3 high. Oh, that's interesting. Where do we go? Right into the hot box, right? Right. I don't know how many times I show that to you, but it's pretty much every day. So we go right into the box between the 618 and the 65 for potentially a 4th. Don't overlap the 1. Where's the algo target? Up here. So now look at this confluence we have up here. So we have the large algo target here. There's the negative 23. We have the algo target from this pivot here to that negative 23. Do you see that? And we had the 100%, and we have the 1618. So we've got a huge cluster up here for potentially a target, all coming back to look at this relative. So let me go back to the 4 hour. So we put this in context. So all relative to this diagonal, to this 5-wave structure. So what are we after here? We want to see it tap that box and get the median line. Then at that point, then what would we have? Well, then where's the next opportunity? Then if we get there, right? And it's all just probabilities right now, but it certainly looks promising. If we get there, then we complete a 5-wave diagonal. That being complete, let me take this all off just so you get the idea. If we get all of that, once these boxes are marked, you don't need to keep all of that on. Pull this off. Okay, if we get all of that, then we complete the 5. Then we would have a completed 5-wave structure. So just for the sake of analyzing, if we top out here, then we've got a 5-wave structure, and now we're looking to be a buyer down here at the 50. So this is your next opportunity to be long right here. Right? Do you get that? See, very technical trading. Beautiful. Just, I mean, equally good, dollar to or Bitcoin. Just very, crypto is remarkably technical for given the volatility that we see. Okay, guys, there's 20 minutes. I will wrap up on that one there.